So this is part 2 of the quadratic formula lesson. Yes, we'll do a part 3 tomorrow, but today we're just going to focus on word problems. Some of them are fairly easy, like this one, where we actually just give you the equation. But your job is to still figure out what the actual answer means. So it says in this question here, 2 is standing on top of a tall building. He throws a paper airplane off the top of the building. The height of the paper airplane, y in meters, above the ground after x seconds can, that E is a typo, can be represented by the following quadratic function. Y equals negative 4.9 x squared plus 4x plus 125. Any of you physics fans out there, this number here should make a lot of sense to you. Why does that 4.9 show up? Anybody know? Because the actual equation for a falling object is change in height, usually delta D, is 1/2 AT squared. So in this case, A is acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.8. Remember that? That's where that 4.9 comes from. It's half of 9.8. So there we go. Now, why isn't this like that equation? Well, this isn't exactly a free fall, right? Because an airplane, a paper airplane especially, is of course going to kind of slowly glide down thanks to the air that kind of supports it as it flies. It'll still be a parabolic path. It'll still be a parabola. It just won't be the same as dropping something that has almost no air resistance, which will just go thump, right? Even if you throw something with almost no air resistance, it obviously won't make as wide a parabola as an airplane or a paper airplane. Or hopefully a regular airplane too. Shouldn't fall out of the sky like a brick. It can glide a little bit. Okay, anyway, so how long will it take for the paper airplane to reach the ground below and use the quadratic formula? Well, why is the quadratic formula going to give me the solution to this equation? Because when it reaches the ground below, that's when y is equal to 0. Get it? Because y is height. So height is 0 when it hits the ground. So once I know that I'm solving for when y is 0, I know that I can use the quadratic formula, because the quadratic formula only works when I have the equation in standard form and y is 0. Okay, and I'm going to flip this over so I can write better. There we go. Okay, so my a value is negative 4.9. My b value is 4. My c value is 125. And has anybody got the equation memorized already?
X equals b is positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac all over.
All right, we've got a few people that seem pretty confident that they got this. And you never actually have to memorize it. We'll always give it to you. But there we go. X equals minus b. So b is a 4, so it's minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4. Now careful here, that a is a negative. All over 2 times negative 4.9. Now, how you approach this, I kind of am going to leave up to you. What you feel comfortable with is kind of what you should do. Some people don't feel comfortable putting a calculation this big into their calculator all at once. And that's fine. You can do it in chunks, but there's decimals involved here. We want the most accurate answer possible. We want to be able to round only when we get to the last step. So if you're going to do this calculation in chunks, I would recommend maybe just doing the square root as a chunk, so get that number. And then, of course, well, I already told you that 4.9 is half of 9.8, so I guess I'm not spoiling anything by doing that. So let's get what's under the square root. Let me get the calculator out. There we go, calculator. Okay, so 4 squared, I don't think I need to punch 4 squared. I know 4 squared is 16. If you need to, go ahead. Now careful with this minus and this negative. Some people were having trouble in the homework that they started on number 1 and number 2 because it's like, oh, I'm getting the wrong answers here. Okay, think of it as negative 4 times negative 4.9. Doesn't that make a positive? Now there's somebody who said to me, but that's not a negative, that's a minus. Well, it's actually both. Can I point out to you, let me give you an easier example. Suppose I had 5 minus 2 times negative 3. And okay, I think of that as, BEDMAS says you have to do multiply first, right? So I think of that as negative 2 times negative 3, which is positive 6. And if you're sitting there going, but to me, this symbol isn't a negative, it's a minus. I'm minusing positive 2 times negative 3. Fine. You're minusing, and what's positive 2 times negative 3?
Negative 6.
Notice that if you minus negative 6, isn't that still 5 plus 6? It doesn't matter which way you think about it. Either way, if you think about it properly, you should get.
It has to be automatic when you see two negative signs. It's just a...
It generally is kind of an automatic thing. I don't think very hard about this. I just look at this and go, oh, I know that's going to be a positive. I don't even consider these negatives anymore. I know that they cancel one another out, right? So there we go. So 4 times 4.9 times 125. Let me get the calculator back. So 4 times 4.9. Oops, there was something wrong there. 4 times 4.9. Oh, wait, I forgot the 16. That's right, I'm sorry. 16 plus 4 times 4.9 times 125. There we go. 2466? Okay, so once again, where did I get that number from? Because 4 squared is 16. If you like, you can actually type 4 squared. I just didn't need to. I know that 4 squared is 16. Plus 4 times 4.9 times 125. Right? And again, I didn't bother with the minuses because I know they go away, but it shouldn't matter if you use them. 4 squared minus 4 times negative 4.9 times 125. Right? They're all giving me 2466. It doesn't really matter how you punch that in as long as you don't make any mistakes doing it.
I'm going to simplify that radical.
Yeah, but again, that's kind of where I'm going to stop for now. Now I'm going to do everything in one button punch here. So now let's see. We know there's 2 answers. Which one would we like to do first? Let's do the plus one first. So we have, come back calculator, where are you? There you are. So let me move over a bit here. Calculator, there we go. Okay, so let's do the negative one. Now, we do have to tell the calculator. Remember that calculators do BEDMAS and that's all they do. They don't know that you're dividing the entire top unless you tell it that. So I do need to start with a bracket so that it knows to do this add before the divide. So negative 4 plus the square root of 2466. Now, this is where it depends what kind of calculator you're using. This calculator opens a bracket when I hit the square root button. So it now assumes everything I type from now on is under the square root bracket. So I have to close the square root bracket. You might not have to do that. You might have the opposite on your calculator. If you had more than one thing under the square root, like you had an add or a multiply under the square root, you might have to open a bracket yourself. Okay, so there. That took care of up to here. Now I need to close my numerator and divide by negative 9.8. So there's my first answer. Negative 4.66. Now, what does that number represent again? What's x?
Meters.
Might want to relook at that. That was the add. I did the add first. And okay, go back in the question. What's x? X is how many seconds the plane's been in the air. What do we like about this answer? Well, negative seconds. The plane flew back in time. I made a paper airplane time machine.
It went below the ground.
Nope. So this is what we call in math. I bet you've heard this word before. Have you seen that word before? That's an extraneous answer. What it means is that it's a right answer according to the algebra. I didn't make any mistakes, but it doesn't make sense in the context of the problem. Time doesn't go backwards when I'm throwing paper airplanes around. So the other answer must be the answer we want. Now, you will have to go back and type this in full, unless you have a fancy calculator like this one, or one that has this feature. I have a feature called entry, which means I can go second function, entry, and then just go back with my cursor and change that plus to a minus. And then hit enter. And there's a positive answer. I think this is the one we want. 5.48 is the right answer. So I would say, therefore, the paper plane will hit the ground in 5.48 seconds. Okay, well, do you have an entry button on there so that you can go back and it'll show you the repunch? Like, is yours the kind of calculator where as you type stuff in, it shows you the equation along the top? No, then you're gonna have to do this. Well, it is a scientific calculator, it's just not quite that, not that fancy. So you're gonna have to actually, whoops, come back over, there we go. You're gonna have to punch it in as, again, open a bracket, -4 minus the square root of 2466. Now, when you click the square root button, did it open a bracket? Like the way mine did. It actually shows you that it opened. Oh, yours doesn't show you what you typed in, so no, it didn't. So you don't have to worry. You just have to click one bracket here. I have to click 2. And then divided by -9.8. And hit answer. See if you get that number. Okay, everybody should try this. Hopefully you start showing up with your scientific calculator. Okay, question. So extraneous, that means it can't be the right answer because it doesn't make sense in the context of the question. It's not wrong algebra-wise. The algebra is 100% true. In fact, we'll graph this thing too while we're at it.
Wait, one last thing. Can we just like do this in 2 parts of the solution?
Actually, you can do this in one part if you want. You can do this in one part. Like I said when I started the putt and punch on this problem, this is the way I'd want people who aren't very comfortable with their calculator to do it. If you're very comfortable doing lots of calculations in your calculator, feel free to just, let me clear this off. Feel free to just type in everything you see here. Open a bracket, -4 minus, open another square root, which opens a bracket, 4 times -4.9 times 125, close the bracket for the square root, close the bracket for the numerator, divide by, open a bracket for the denominator, 2 times -4.9, close brackets, equals. Oop, something went wrong. Yeah, I did something wrong. 4 times -4.9. Oh, yeah, I forgot to square the 4. I missed the squared. I said it, I must have missed the thing here. Second function, insert a squared. There we go, enter. No, still doesn't like it. Now what? 4 squared minus 4. Oh, hang on, let's start over. Open a bracket, -4. There's the first part. Minus square root 4 squared minus 4 times -4.9 times 125. Close the bracket for my square root, close the bracket for my numerator, divided by, open a bracket for the denominator, 2 times -4.9, close bracket, equals. If there's people going, why did you need a bracket for the denominator? Because once again, the calculator doesn't know to do this multiply before that divide without a calculator. It's still not working for you? Okay, hold on. Let me go back to the thing. Okay. Okay, what kind of calculator are you rocking? Show me what you got. Show me. Okay, so non-fancy, it doesn't matter. Okay, follow my instructions here. Ready? Okay, first of all, when you square root a number, do you hit the square root button first or the number first? That's what you have? It's number first? Tell me what the square root of 256 is. Punch it on your calculator. Okay, what did you do first? Did you type in 256 and then the square root button? Okay, then here's what you have to do. Here is your button punch sequence. Ready? Okay, I'm gonna erase all this. Okay. For people who have a calculator like the person I'm talking to, you are going to open a bracket. You're going to hit a 4. You're going to make that number negative. Does your negative button look like this? Yeah. Okay. Then you are going to subtract. Then you are going to open another bracket. Then you are going to do 4 times 4.9. You know that there's no 4.9 button. You're going to have to use 3 buttons there. And then make that number negative. And then times 125. Then you're going to close that bracket and tell the calculator that the thing that was in the bracket you just did needs square rooting. Now that might be a shift on your calculator, right? Or does it have its own square root button? Now you are going to close the numerator. Now again, some of you don't have this kind of calculator, so don't follow these buttons. This is instructions for people who hit number, then square root. If that's the kind of calculator you have, this is your instructions. Divided by, open a bracket, 2 times 4.9, make that number negative, close the bracket, and hit equals. That would be people who have a calculator like this guy right here. Anybody have a TI-X like that? Nope, shouldn't be an error. Let me follow these buttons exactly. I'm in the wrong mode. Let me get it. There we go. Okay. Open a bracket. 4. Make it negative. Minus. Open a bracket. 4 times 4.9. Make it negative. Times 125. Close the bracket. Square root it. Oh, it is giving me an error. Okay, what happened?
I do not understand.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I forget to square the 4? Yeah, I did forget to square the 4. Whoops, oops, oops, oops. Sorry. My bad. 4 squared. I forgot to square that 4. 4. What's your squared button? Is it x squared on yours? Okay, there you go. My bad. 4, make it negative. Minus, open a bracket. 4 squared times. No, wait a minute. No, there's more than that missing. Hang on. Let me erase this row. 4 squared. That's why I like doing it in sections, but okay, but it's doable. Minus 4 times 4.9. Make it negative, and then times again. There we go. All right, that should do it. Open a bracket. 4, make it negative. Minus, open a bracket. 4 squared minus 4 times 4.9 negative times 125. Close brackets. Square root the bracket I just made. Close the bracket for the numerator. Divide by, open a bracket, 2 times 4.9. Make it negative. Close the bracket and equals 5.47. Nope, that one works now. Sorry about that. That took me a while because I don't use this kind of calculator very often. Sorry. Follow those buttons exactly. If you don't have the right answer, it's because you don't hit the button that it says that you're hitting. Now, what's important though is that you figure out why that's the order that'll make your calculator work. Now, person shaking their head at me, is this your kind of calculator? No, you don't have this kind of calculator. When you want to square root a number, what do you do first? You hit the square root button first, right? Okay, so for people who that's their calculator, so let's see. So for people who have a square root button and then a number, yours will look like this. Open a bracket. Let me draw that better. Open a bracket. 4. Oh, sorry, it's a negative first. -4 minus the square root. Now, again, listening, calculator brand matters here. When you hit a square root, does it open a bracket for you? See, the people who say yes have a different button punch than the people who say no. One way or the other, there needs to be a bracket here. So careful, this might be done for you, or it might be a button you have to press yourself. So if it's a button, either way you need a bracket there, so get a bracket there. And then again, it's square root of 4 squared minus 4 times negative 4.9 times 125, close my brackets, close the bracket, and again, this one, yeah, this one you might not, well, yeah, this one might be, this one you have to do yourself either way. Then close the bracket for the numerator, and then divide by, and then the denominator needs brackets too. Open a bracket, 2 times 4.9. Oh, sorry, I forgot the negative. Let me put the negative in first. Negative 4.9. Close the brackets, and that equals. Either way, so that would be for people who have a calculator like, say, this one. Okay. So let me try it. Hang on, I'll get to your question in a second. So open a bracket, -4 minus the square root of, open a bracket, 4 squared minus 4 times -4.9 times 125, close bracket, divide, open bracket, 2 times -4.9, close brackets, equals, yep. Either way, 5.475, oh, hang on, I just copied that wrong. 39, blah, blah, blah. Okay, question. Okay, now, again, does your hit the square root button, does it open a bracket? Do you see a bracket on the screen after your square root? Okay, then you don't have to hit this button, but you still need those two. Then, okay, are you mixing up the negative button and subtract? Because they're different buttons. One's an operation, one's a sign. Punch the buttons on your calculator exactly as I did mine, and you should get that number. Try it again. Yep.
So, my first question is, can I ask why we use the minus for like that plus and minus part?
Okay.
It's just the one.
Because it's the one that works. Actually, that's a good thing. We'll have a little conversation about that in a minute. Let's let everybody finish dealing with their calculator issues. Yep.
I was able to get it because you know when we after we figured out what the square part was after.
Yep.
I was able to put like the brackets in for the first equation, and then I did the divide, and it worked.
Okay.
To give us the 5.475.
Sure. Okay, that works. Okay, so let me see if I have another calculator here. I have 3 kicking around. Let me use this one. Okay, so open a bracket, -4 minus the square root of, open a bracket. This one I have to open the bracket myself. 4 squared minus 4 times -4.9 times 125. Close bracket, divide by, open bracket, 2 times -4.9, close brackets, equals. Yep. I've got it on 3 different calculators, 2 of which are the ones on the right for me. These two guys here, for those of you in the room, if you want to look at my calculator brandings here, those two guys there are this one on the right. This guy here is the one on the left. So there we have it. Button punch, button punch. Now, again, if this is just, you've tried it a few times, this isn't going your way, feel free to just go, okay, fine, I have to start from here. Okay?
What's with this noise?
What are you saying, sorry? It's so much easier to which way?
Oh, it's so much easier to just do like the actual calculations instead of doing one big long punch.
See, I would say the opposite. I know me. I mean, you got to know yourself, right? My biggest place I'm going to make a mistake is copying a number off my calculator and writing it down. So I do that less if I just punch it all at once. But I'm also somebody who's been using these scientific calculators like this for, 30 something years, right? So for me, it's not a big deal that I got to punch a lot of buttons. Having said that, this one challenged me. This took me a few tries because I don't use this calculator very often because it's kind of lame.
Oh.
Now, having said that, what I do like about these calculators is they are absolutely tough. You could take this home and hammer nails with it and probably it would still work for you. You could throw it in the back of your backpack and it'd be fine, right? No matter what textbook crushed it. Whereas these guys here, the more fancy your calculator is, the easier it is to break. Anyway. Okay. We'll give you another minute maybe to punch buttons. And I'm just looking for hands. Anybody got a question? Feel free to ask. Yep.
The next question, the answer is 7.28.
Yeah, it is. The next one's 7.28. Okay, for people who are having no problems with the button punching, feel free to go into the next example. Okay, so for the next example,
Mr. Gallo, why is there 5.5? And it's 5.5 significant to the equation?
yeah, we should probably, you're right, this is science now, we should probably do significant figures. But all right, here we go. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right.
Ridiculously hard to do with that calculator.
This one's not too bad. Minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times negative 0.81 times 6.5 all over 2 times negative 0.81. Now, which one will be the right answer? Well, again, there's a plus version and there's a minus version. Now, I just wrote down the plus version. Now, think about this. There's somebody asked me on the last example, how come the minus one turned out to be the right answer? Because notice we have to divide by a negative. So the only way you're going to get a positive answer is if the numerator is negative. Think about that logically, right?
So that would mean if that divide part is the negative, then we would use the negative for the top one, right?
Yeah. So think about it this way. A negative on top, or a positive on top divided by a negative on the bottom will be a negative. And in both of these problems, we don't want the negative answer because they both involve time. Time can't go backwards in most problems. They can in particle physics, and other than that, no. So we want the answer where the numerator will be a negative. And isn't that more likely when you subtract? Not always, because what if the b that you started with was negative? Then it would be canceled out by the minus. And then, so you kind of have to try them both, right? See what I'm saying? So anyway, but in this case, it's going to be the minus one again. So if you do it the step-by-step way, as somebody here just said, is the way that they like the best, I think you end up with, let's see, I should know this number. 25 minus 4 times 0.81, but make it negative, times 6.5. 46.06. All over, do you need a calculator for doubling the number 81? Okay, then double 81.
81 plus 81.
So then x would equal, so open a bracket, 5 negative minus 46.06, but square root it, close brackets, divided by 1.62 with a negative on it, and you get 7 point, we'll round it to 2 places. Try that one, see if you get it. And again, if you can go directly from here to here in one button punch, go right ahead. I will never require you to show me this step. If you want to, you can. You don't need to. Yes? Question? No? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Okay, that's it for today. I knew this would take a while because I knew there's always calculator button punch issues. But, okay, I'll stop the video there. And at this point now, it's just work time for you. So there we go.